guys in hopped-up cars. They think they own the road.
You weren't really angry with him. You've been wanting to slug somebody ever since you left the beach.
What happened at the beach had nothing to do with it. This guy asked for it. I've had 100 fights like this.
Are you proud of it?
No, but I'm usually in the right. I was this time.
Sometimes a bunch of films with similar themes come out around the same time, making it feel like there's some collective cultural zeitgeist that Hollywood is plugged into. In 1950, the first year of a long decade that would become known for its extreme paranoia, 3 films, which would go on to be known as classics of Hollywood's golden age, tackled not just extremely similar themes, but delved into the dark corners of Hollywood itself, fame, and celebrity, and what success and failure within the entertainment business can do to a fragile psyche. Billy Wilder's dark cobweb classic, Sunset Boulevard, Joseph L. Mankiewicz's All About Eve, and tonight's film, Nicholas Ray's In a Lonely Place. This film is a dark, bleak, and violent film noir starring Humphrey Bogart and Gloria Grahame.
Why, you blind, knuckle-headed squirrel, don't you look where you're going?
Take it easy.
Take it easy, look at my car. I just got a new paint job, $200. I'd have dragged you out of this land and barged you.
Dick! Stop it! Stop it! Let him alone! Dick, don't you...
Humphrey Bogart plays screenwriter Dixon Steele, who has a violent temper, drinks, and hasn't had a successful screenplay turned into a film since he left for the war. Like a cooler, more suave version of Stanley Kowalski from A Streetcar Named Desire, misogyny and violence is inherent to Steele's whole character, and a fire burns within him even as he struggles to control it.
Go ahead, brub. Squeeze harder. You love her, and she's deceived you. You hate her patronizing attitude. She looks down on you. She's impressed with celebrities. She wants to get rid of you. You squeeze harder. Harder.
Hoping to push him back into creative work, Steele's long-suffering agent Mel brings him a book to adapt into a film about a widow named Althea Bruce, who is being investigated for possibly killing her husband. Before Steele gets to the restaurant to meet Mel, he's too busy almost getting into a fight with other motorists. The young hat check girl, Mildred Atkinson, is almost finished with the book meant for Steele. And so Dick Steele invites her to come to his apartment to tell him the story of the book so he doesn't have to read it. Mildred excitedly explains the plot of the book to Steele, who decides it's terrible and gives her cab fare to get home. The next day, Steele is woken up and brought to the police station by his best friend and former Arby subordinate, the newly minted Detective Brubb. There he's surprised with the news that Mildred Atkinson has been murdered and he's the #1 suspect. However, Dick Steele knows that his new neighbor saw her take the cab fare and leave, and Laurel Gray, played by Gloria Grahame, temporarily helps Steele get out of trouble.
You usually give such attention to your neighbors?
No.
Were you interested in Mr. Steele because he's a celebrity?
No, not at all. I noticed him because he looked interesting. I like his face.
I guess that'll be all for now. Goodbye, Miss Gray.
Goodbye, Captain Lockwood.
Barton.
Through the course of the film, Bogey and Graham fall in love because nothing says I love you like being a man's alibi. Graham was actually married to the director Nicholas Ray, although their marriage was troubled and would end by 1952. Laurel Gray is a former actress whose career hasn't taken off, and Dick Steele is a screenwriter whose best creative days are behind him. They are both deeply broken, paranoid, and clearly oil and water personalities. After seeing Steele's temper in action, Laurel slowly begins to suspect that maybe he is in fact the murderer. In a Lonely Place is adapted from the book of the same name. Yes, a movie revolving around a screenwriter adapting a book into a movie about someone being investigated for possibly killing their lover. In a Lonely Place, the book was written by Dorothy B. Hughes in 1947. Hughes was a literary critic, crime novelist, and In a Lonely Place is her feminist subversion of the ultra-masculine pulp genre. In the book, Dick Steele is in fact a serial killer, strangling women on a monthly basis, while posing as a crime novelist who volunteers to help his detective friend solve a murder he committed.
You're an ex-GI. You know judo. You know how to kill a person without using your hands. You're driving the car and you're strangling her.
The movie version of Dixon Steele is not a serial killer, but has an awful temper and becomes increasingly unraveled and violent, lashing out at the people around him as he believes himself unfairly deceived by them. Louise Brooks, the famed 1920s icon and silent film actress, wrote in her famous essay about Bogart, Humphrey and Bogart, in Sight and Sound in 1966, that Dixon Steele was the character she felt most resembled the real Humphrey Bogart. The pride in his art, his selfishness, his drunkenness, his lack of energy stabbed with lightning strikes of violence were all shared equally by the real Humphrey Bogart, and that In a Lonely Place as a title described his own isolation among people.
I was born when she kissed me. I died when she left me. I lived a few weeks while she loved me. You like it?
What is it?
I want to put it in the script. I don't know quite where.
One of the things that works best about In a Lonely Place is that the only character who's more of an enigma than Dixon Steele is Laurel Gray. She ran away from a rich real estate developer who wanted to marry her, becomes enamored with Dixon Steele, but as he closes his grip around her, doubts begin to emerge about his innocence. Is that a true belief that he might be guilty, or an excuse to run away from yet another engagement? Gloria Grahame's life before and after her marriage to Nicholas Ray was full of unstable relationships, and there are parallels throughout the film to both Nicholas's and Gloria's life. In 1949, just months after Nicholas Ray's directorial debut, They Live by Night was completed officially. Although it wouldn't officially come out until November, Humphrey Bogart made a deal with RKO to loan him Nicholas Ray for the first film to be produced with Bogart and Robert Lord Santana Productions. This was Knock on Any Door. The RKO contract gave Bogart the option of a second film, and Bogart brought him over to work on a film adapted from In a Lonely Place, a screenplay which Andrew Solt and Nicholas Ray both worked on. Ray would continue changing and tweaking the screenplay while shooting the film. Originally, Bogart hoped to get Lauren Bacall as the Laurel character, but Warner Brothers wouldn't release her. So Nicholas Ray convinced Harry Cohn, who originally wanted Ginger Rogers, to get his new wife of not even a year and a half, Gloria Grahame, to be loaned out by Howard Hughes at RKO. Robert Lord made Gloria Grahame sign a contract forbidding her from nagging, cajoling, or distracting her husband, and putting her under her husband's control on set. Nicholas Ray and Gloria Grahame's marriage would fall apart throughout the filming of the movie. They split up during the filming, and Nicholas secretly lived at the studio in a dressing room. They got back together. Nicholas believed she was unfaithful and was having her affairs covered up by Frank Lovejoy, who plays Nicolaj, so he punished him by limiting his close-ups. Nicholas Ray later said, "I didn't like her very much." And so in a way, this film was a form of putting their own psychological strain on the screen. The apartments are based on the design of Nicholas's own apartment in Hollywood. The original ending that Nicholas and Stoltz had decided on was that Dick Steele would completely lose control of seeing Laurel leaving and would strangle her to death, with her death happening right before Nicolaj walks in to clear him of the original murder. But Nicholas Ray hated that ending, and so after shooting it, they cleared everyone out except Bogart, Art Smith, and Gloria, and Nicholas had them improvise a new ending that doesn't see Gloria's character die.
Yesterday, this would have meant so much to us. Now it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter